Truth.
Lights, look at the lights. Yeah. Yep.
It is precisely 5 minutes after 8 o'clock on December something. What's the date? December 6th. 5th, 6th. 8, 9, 10. It's got to be the 5th today. Please tell me it's the 5th. Please, yeah, okay. It is the 5th. Hallelujah. Okay. There's bad news and good news. The bad news is I get a year older in 10 days. My birthday's the 15th, and I'm terrified. That's a bad, don't cheer that. That's the bad news. The good news is it is story time, story night at Center for Talking Arts. Everybody who is here and everybody who is watching, thank you for taking part in this. A couple of things. Very, very short intro. My name's Mike Derbecker. I have been doing storytelling for almost 20 years now. I was doing it in Toronto. I've been doing it in Hamilton. This is a great venue for people who are veterans at it and for newbies. Come on in. We're very welcome to be here. In addition to magnificent, brilliant narratives by talented performers, there is also a bar over there and assorted snacks. Anybody's hungry, please take a trip over in that direction. And there are some t-shirts for the Center for Talking Arts, which are incredibly comfortable. And again, I'm not wearing one. I got to learn to wear one here. I usually come straight from work, so I'm in whatever business casual I can get away with in an office where I sit around as a technical writer, which is an incredibly boring job, unless you do it, and then it's kind of interesting, but in a very boring way. Enough about that. I want to start this evening pretty much immediately. First person who's going to be speaking is one of the movers and shakers of the Center for Talking Arts, and one of the people I always thank at the end of the show for letting me do all this. His background is all over the place, so I'm not even going to try to list it, but he is a great performer, and he is a very decent person to have worked with and to perform with, etc., etc. So, Dexter Eco.
Another round of applause for Mike Derbecker. Story. I was thinking of this story when I was 14 years old that really solidified my personality. And it had to do with a trip to see my relatives in Virginia Beach. So I'm 14. My sister is like, she doesn't really matter in this story. I'll cut to the chase. I haven't really shared this except with my wife. And she said, yeah, tell that story. When I was in high school as a teenager, I was kind of the rebellious, wild kid who just really didn't have any filters. Just the guy who just took risks all the time, and it had to do with this experience. Family hops in a car, goes to see relatives in Virginia Beach, my cousins, and it was a great time. It was hot. We went to the beach. My cousins there were Jun, Lynn, and Joanne. And I'm 14. He's probably like 16, 17. Lynn is a little older. Joanne's a little older. Doesn't matter. What matters is Jun. So we're two boys, and he's a fun kind of kid. And he really wants to introduce me to all the shit in Virginia Beach in his life. And I'm like, cool, whatever that is. At 14, I'm in grade 8, I guess. And my life has been quite normal, just a normal, regular kid. There, one night, he wakes me up and says, hey, Dex, let's go out. And I'm excited. I'm on vacation. Everything's new. I love my cousins and the family and everything. I'm like, okay, where do you want to go? Let's sneak out the car, and I'll take you somewhere. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So we take his sister's car, and he we didn't even turn it on right away. Basically, he put it in neutral and we pushed it off the driveway, obviously, so no one hears. And this guy's done this before. I'm like, this is so exciting as a 14-year-old. Turn on the car and we take off. He takes me to a basketball court at night. The lights as bright as this, all around the court, and all these young kids are playing basketball. And I played basketball before. I'd shoot some hoops. But not like this. This is Virginia Beach. This is Virginia, U.S., hot night. And he said, okay, let's go play some ball. I'm like, yeah, excited little kid bouncing a ball, you know, just playing around. He's like, okay, we're going to play a game, full court. I'm like, okay, let's do this. And we're playing full court. And these kids, they would just easily take the ball off me. Like, dude, do you know how to play basketball? Can you just guard your ball? I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And they would rough me up. At the same time, they would always give me a chance to do better. They'd literally swipe the ball from me and say, buddy, take the ball again and try harder, please. Go. So I learned a lot about grit and having that competitiveness in sports in a fun way, because they would just coach me. And I guess even my coaching abilities came from that initial experience of enjoying being mentored by these just random people. It's like, go kid, go, try it again. Okay, good, great. So that was basketball. Then my cousin Jen says, okay, now we're gonna go to my friend's place and we're gonna hang out there. And I'm like, yeah, great. Dex, you wanna drive? I'm like, what? Okay, sure, I'll drive. And it's a Civic. It's like a 1980s Civic. Easy to drive, manual steering. I was like, this is fun. This is amazing. And it led me later on to actually sneak my parents' car out and visit my girlfriend at 15 without them knowing. Another story. But driving the car, get to the friend's place, and they're having a party there. And these kids are older. So he's 16, 17. I'm 14. They're maybe 19, 20, 21. And you guys know how you were at that age. You're kind of like testing boundaries, and everything's all about being brazen, you know, in certain ways, especially back then. And these kids were having a blast at this house, playing music as you expect, like in the movies. Enjoying themselves. He's introducing me to all these people. I've never been to a party like that before. So I'm at awe with everything. Like, wow, this is amazing. What are you guys doing? We're smoking weed. Oh, cool. You want some? No. And my cousin would protect me. He's like, no, he can't have any of that. He's visiting. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you want to play this or whatever? The one thing I do remember, this is the memory I'm giving you. These kids would test me, play with my naivete, and have a laugh at my expense with certain things I remember. Like, he doesn't know what blah, blah, blah is, and this group of kids would circle around me and my cousin and just test me. It's like, where's Canada? Is that where polar bears live and all this shit? And I was like, yeah, that's where the problem is. And then this older dude out of the group, he comes up to me and he goes, hey, Dexter, you ever see a gun? I'm like, no. And he pulls out a gun, and I see him talking to his friends. Okay, guys, watch this. Dexter, here. So this is a gun. Hold it. I'm like, whoa. He goes, here are the bullets. You want to ever play with bullets? And they're watching me like this. Like, what's this kid going to do? This guy's sucking up all this shit that he's not supposed to be doing. I'm like, whoa, how do you load it? And I was like, yeah. Really cool, eh? I'm like, yeah. You want to go rob a store? And I look at him, I look at my cousin, and I could see they're all looking at me, like, after they picked on me for so long. I'm like, yeah, let's go rob a store. But he wasn't being serious, right? So they all start laughing, and looking at me, and he's like, Jen, I like your cousin. We're not robbing a store, kid. What the hell? I'm like, okay, cool. Then we went back home. No one found out. and went back to Canada. But that whole time doesn't really describe the emotions that I went through for being so young. From then on, everything was like, okay, I need to match that level of intensity with that feeling of taking risks. And that's what I did with almost everything, except, within reason. And that caused a whole bunch of shit, and I learned all these different lessons. But those are the main experiences that shaped my risky behavior as a teenager. That's it. Welcome back, Mike. There you go, man.
14's a really bad age to do stupid stuff. The stupidest maneuvers I did in my teenage years were when I was 14, which was probably good to get it out of my system, because when I was 17 I would have had much more wherewithal about how to do the stupid things. At least when I was 14, they were stupid for the stupid sake. That's an entirely different monologue. I can match your gun story. But a little later, when I was 16, I went on a class trip to Russia. Yeah, this is not going to go well. It was like pre-Iron Curtain going down. It's still this terrifying kind of communist place. And we've been told explicitly, if you do anything stupid, they will put you in jail and you will go to Siberia for 6 months. So of course everybody, they're buying booze, which the Russians don't care about. We're trying to smuggle cigarettes back into Canada, and they were terrible cigarettes, but we thought this was a good idea. When we got on the plane to fly out of Moscow to Finland, everybody is convinced we're going to be busted for cigarettes and little bottles of vodka. So everybody's terrified until the plane is in the air, and then at one point the pilot says, "And we have left Soviet airspace." And everybody starts cheering and opens their bags to show off the cigarettes we're convinced we smuggled. We land in Finland for one night, and one of the guys on the trip was doing the same type of trading. He was getting cigarettes and Russian watches for some reason, and vodka, etc. And in the hotel, he said, "Oh yeah, I got one more thing." And he opened a camera bag. And this is in the primitive times where you had to have a lead-lined camera bag. So it went through the x-rays, it wouldn't ruin your film. He had one of those bags, and he opened it up, and he pulled out a small automatic. It is a weapon. It is a gun. Really small. I couldn't even tell you the caliber. I really want to say it's a Walther PPK, because that's what James Bond used, but it's probably not that. He just got a gun through security. Had they nailed him, he would be in jail. And he looked at us and he went, "I don't think it's loaded." We were in Helsinki. There are lots of rivers in Helsinki. 2 or 3 of the other guys went and threw this thing in the river, so it might still be there. So I wasn't 14, I was around 16 at the time, but it's still terrifying things. We got another person to talk right now, and this guy has been performing here for months and months. I've seen him a bunch of times. His stuff is sincere and direct, and I have no idea at any point where it's going. So I'm just glad to have him here. So everybody, George Derbecker.
So I usually perform straight out of my heart, just how I feel that day. But yesterday I had a very, very nice day. And I love that nobody who's involved in the story know that they are involved yet. So I got home and I was so happy about that day, which we'll hear about soon. It's going to be a bit long, I'm sorry, but I think you'll understand later why it's long. It's because I have to tend to certain things when I'm telling the story. But I got home, and my wife managed somehow to make me even happier. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm talking deep. And I immediately decided, because I remember Dex telling me, when you get something so raw, don't just say, oh yeah, I'll remember. Write it down. So I took out my phone and I wrote it. And I'm going to read some of it. I'm going to add to it now, like tell different angles. But I'm just going to follow a skeleton for the first time because I think it's deserving of your ears and your time. So I called it A Story I Wrote to My Wife. I was so happy at CFTA today. I am centered, aligned, and present. This is the first time I feel like this. Maybe it's a learned and taught mechanism, like a placebo. But in the bigger scheme of things, I do feel centered, aligned, and present. It's allowing me to see happiness as an earned emotion because it takes mental presence to process it. It's not something you just get. It's you have to understand that you're happy to be truly happy. I had a very core Canadian day. I learned from Dex about museums, and we talked for what I think was hours, because it was so fun, about weird collectibles, weird things people collect. That was my discussion with Dex. One of the few topics we both have endless story about in common. Then Jake and I talked about language, which fascinated me. And we drifted into the idea of bubble people. You know, people who live in what you perceive to be like a bubble. And the example I was giving was, we probably all can name 100 rappers, 200 pop singers. Even if you don't listen to that genre of music, you have the names, they circulate. But like country music people, there are so few people who could name one or two, country music star, and they can't. Because those people just live and perform in one or two states, and they're bubbled like that. So that was my discussion with Jake about bubbles. And we drifted into the idea, if you look at a bubble and you perceive people to be neutrally happy, not happy what you think happiness looks like these people are living in what you perceive to be terrible conditions. But on average, they have great days, they're smiling. Why would you go in and try and change that? They accept the tax that comes with it. Yeah, probably if the street is not clean and pristine, they know they're more likely to get sick. But they'd rather not do that part, live shorter, but experience life so raw, like so purely emotional. So that struck me as well. And then Jake, being the philosopher, said, but what if we're in a bubble that we cannot perceive? And that just happens to be a smaller bubble. So that intrigued me. And we spoke in depth about parallel topics, but I digress. What made me earn the happiness for the night was me realizing that I get to enjoy so many different things with so many different people. It's like every part of me is allowed to exist. If I want to talk Canadian history, I would go to Terry. If I want to talk philosophy and life and the kind of conversations you'll leave thinking about for the next 3 days, I would go to Jake for philosophy. If I want to talk about Superman and geeky stuff and like weird jokes or messed up jokes, there's Joey. If I want to talk creative, I go to Dex, and he would show me stuff like he's done. And like, it's so impressive to see that every compartment of my brain has its own universe in Canada. I get to experience every compartment of my brain because I'm surrounded with people and by people who live in the same mental space as I do. It feels protected and curated. It feels like I can live at peace with me. later on in the night, I happened to be standing outside with a fellow comedian whose name I should mention just out of honoring what he's done yesterday. He's D.T. Scott. And he performed what I perceive to be a world-class performance. He gave it all on stage. I felt I was watching a clip that got to me because 80 million people watched it before. That's what the sentiment he gave me yesterday. So when we stepped outside, I was telling him, please get your video and chop it into segments and post it online. And I was telling him, so many comics, especially comics, owe their careers because they were about to give up, but they decide to do that one more video or perform that one last show, and that happens to be the evening, the night, the show, or the video that changed their entire career. Matt Rife being the most recent and prime example of that. They get it. So I was telling him, please post it. And I was telling him, it could change your career. And it was very transactional. It felt like I can only place value on what he's done based on what it could bring back to him. And that's a different topic, but which is art meant to be a living mean or something you get to experience just for the purity of it? So I was telling him it's world class. This is world class. And Terry happens to walk in, and he looks at me and he goes, you were world class, buddy. What you did was insane. And that burst my first bubble. I thought, this guy felt like he needs to tell me that I gave him a certain emotion, and it was purely emotional. His decision to speak to me was purely emotional. I was kind of doing the same thing, but my approach was purely transactional. So then I look at Terry, and I thought about it. Was I world class? It doesn't matter. Yes or no, this is a generational wealth of kindness that was passed down until it got to Terry in that form, and he said it to me. So do I need to question its source or just accept it? And that was my first lesson on accepting happiness because you earned it. It wasn't lucky. It wasn't anything else. So Terry says that to me, and we later finished, speaking to the guy. He had to leave. He said, yeah, I'll think about it. It's his right. He needs time to think about it. Terry comes down, and I happened to be behind the bar, and he looks at me and he goes, if he didn't pay for his video, please, I want to cover it and send it to him anonymously, which I'm ruining right now, absolutely. And that was a very nice moment that this guy just watches this performer here, doesn't really speak to him beyond, formalities and politeness, is willing to spend the money he worked for to nudge this guy on the side of believing more in himself. And that changed my view about the world. And I can go on forever naming stories from yesterday. Shelley, you were one of them. You told me I have my mattress on the floor because my dog suffers from their hip and I don't want them jumping. So you're willing to inconvenience yourself to honor a creature who happens to be in your care. So that changed, like so many moments like that. So I was ecstatic. I felt so happy. But then something happened where I was telling a joke about the Louvre being broken into. And I decided yesterday I wanted to ad-lib to it. So I go and say, I didn't understand why my wife was upset about the Louvre being, broken into. Basically, we buy our paintings at IKEA. We're not qualified to have this conversation about high-end art. And to add to the joke, I said, well, maybe It's because our painting is a Tuscany view, but it has a smiley face on it, and it was 50% off. And then I go on to say, I didn't really understand why she was frantic that much, because what, do you have stuff in the Louvre I don't know of? Like, am I married to Elizabeth the 18th? That was the entire joke. And I get off the stage. I had a pretty good time. And this lady comes to me and she hugs me. And she goes, I connected to your performance. And I'm standing there because, again, that's my programming. Why would she say that other if it's not? Because I'm thinking, what would it take for a comedian to do on stage to get that reaction? Did you suck really bad that she felt it's dramatic that it matched her timeline? It makes you think about that. But she goes, I lost my dad 3 years ago. And I prayed this morning and I said, God, if my dad is taken care of, please give me a sign. And she said her nickname is Smiley Face, because she puts smiley faces on everything she touches, her desk, her computer, her phone. So that was her first sign. And then I said, am I married to Queen Elizabeth? Elizabeth is her name. The third part, when she said Elizabeth is her name, I drifted off in my brain a bit, and I'm thinking, I'm well-read. If I was going to give out that example, I would say Elizabeth the third. There's no four-fifth. So I know that. Why would I say 18 on stage? Third bomb. She goes, my dad died on the 18th. And another reality bubble burst for me. Here I am trying to taint something pure, something that I felt I did not earn, and I'm trying to taint it forcibly with something so I can devalue it in my life. But that woman felt something. Now call it cosmic coincidence, call it God, call it pure chance. My brain happened to spit out these 3 words that happened to connect with her. This moment was earned for her. And I earned the feeling she gave me, the happiness she gave me. It wasn't something I had to ask for. It just happened. I still should learn how to accept it without being judgmental about it. So, sorry, it's very heavy. Okay, so the day continued endlessly like that, as I said. And I decided to go home. I felt like this day couldn't get any better. Might as well, dock in for the night and, rest. And I had a plan how I would tell my wife exactly what I was just telling you guys. But I had missed a message from her that said, I'm going to sleep, my love, drive safe. So I figured, okay. But my habit is to call her on the way home. And I wanted to prep her for what I'm about to tell her. So I decided, okay, who next would care? I said, well, I have a different topic. So I called Ayman, who's here tonight. And I said, Ayman, can I get your permission? I want to use this amazing thing that you're doing with your time and life, which is you running a 240-kilometer marathon in Morocco. Can I use that to make a joke about pedophiles? It's funny when you hear it. Trust me, it's very funny. And Ayman just said, yeah. And I love that. That was another moment where my friend trusted me blindly because he knows I celebrate him enough that I wouldn't do anything that would tarnish him. And he just gave me explicit, no detail, no further question, and said, yeah, can't wait to hear it. That burst another bubble of people can just be pure emotion. And that's what Ayman was. He trusted me in the moment. He said, let's go, do it. And just so it happens, I'm speaking to Ayman. I get to my driveway. I park the car. I get into the house, and I'm prepared. Like, should I make noise to wake her up so she can ask me, like, okay, I'm awake, tell me. So I can tell her? Or should I? And I'm thinking that, and I'm speaking to Ayman, and all of a sudden, and Ayman heard me, I go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I go mute for 10 seconds, and I tell him, Celeste decorated for Christmas. My wife, while I thought I was here bursting bubbles, she showed me that I was in a different, bigger bubble altogether that has all these smaller bubbles. And at the same time, she was creating a safe and beautiful bubble for me to come back to. Whether she did it out of thought for me, or she did it just because she happened to want to do it for herself, I still get the honor and the privilege of experiencing those emotions through her actions, even if they were accidental. And that's when I decided I need to write this and I need to send it to her. And the reason I say her and not you when I wrote this is because I know she's probably right now watching this and rolling her eyes, going, this motherfucker again. She's probably I'm gonna hear about it tomorrow. But she doesn't understand that she is my world. Like, I don't think she ever grasped the severity and the size she occupies in my life. And it's because of her presence and the bubble she puts around me. I get to experience great people like everybody I just named in my story. And even the people I missed. And I wrote this down, and you guys can check. Brian, Shelley, Ayman, Faye, Dante, Yoel, Sue. The list goes on forever. Every single person in the story. You hold immense value in my life, more than you'll ever know. You have allowed me to exist in peace. You have allowed me to exist in strength as well. I know when to push, I know when to hold on, and you gave me that through small stories, small actions, small moments we had. Mike, Jen Frankel, I said, I don't want to miss anybody, just so you don't. It's everybody I've ever met in this country, even people I had issues with, even people that I didn't like, even every single person of those. I love them, I value them. And this moment I earned. I earned my wife, not earned her that way. I'm Arab. Fuck. I earned. Jesus, yeah. I'm sleeping on the couch anyhow. I earned her presence in my life. It's because I'm a good man, and it's because she knows that she's loved. And I wanted to tell that story to not just celebrate her, but celebrate her effect on my life, which allows me to be at peace with everybody I meet. Right out the gate. Like, my first emotion used to be protective. Now I'm more open. Now I'm more of a listener. It's no longer the inner voice that tells me if I could be friends with Mike. It's listen to Mike and then decide. I've never lived like this. I've never existed. I didn't know my brain is capable of such meowing, such depth and such peace and such joie de vivre. And I owe it to every single person, here and not here, to every person I've ever met. Really, I hope you one day also feel that you earned every bit of happiness you have and every bit of goodness in your life. You deserve it all, and I'm so honored and happy to be among people like that. You will never know how grateful I am, but I hope this brings you a bit close to understanding me. Thank you, guys.
For obvious reasons, please, one more time for George. I love your points about about the bubbles, how your effect on somebody or someone's effect on you is kind of its own universe. And if you're lucky, you end up in the same bubble, if that makes any sense. I can't say that nearly as articulately as you did, but that whole story of coincidences and being in the right time, in the right place, that's something I really want to believe in. I think I get it around 1/3 of the time if I'm lucky. So anytime you get it, you should talk about it. So thank you very much. This is a very cool night thus far. Is Tomo here?
Yeah, right here.
Okay. I know very little about Tomo. Aside from the fact he's over there, he's on the couch, he has a cheerful smile, and whatever he's going to say, I think you should listen to it. How's that? Tomo.
Yeah, so good evening. I'm Tomo. I'm a stand-up comedian and a one-liner comedian. But yeah, I was definitely inspired too by George's sort of story and talking about gratitude. So I discovered this place, like CFTA, completely by accident. I wasn't doing any comedy. I thought maybe I'd never do it again. And then one day I'm upstairs having a delicious bowl of ramen up at the Menyaku with my buddy. And we're like, oh yeah, that was a good meal. So where should we go next? You know, let's maybe head over to, the Pheasant Plucker or maybe the Ship for another drink. And then he looks at the sign that's down here and he goes, wait a minute, Tomo, there's an open mic here. Let's check it out. And I'm just like, oh, but I don't do I don't do comedy anymore. I'm not sure. So we come down here and it's actually the same story night that we're having now, I believe, that was on. And the sign-up sheet's there. And it's like, hey, you want to sign up to talk? And I said, well, I'm a comedian and a one-liner comedian, no less. Is that okay? And they're like, that's fine. So I, without any preparation, totally unprepared, go up there, do my best 5-minute set, right? Felt really good. Everybody's so receptive, right? And guess what? That's what got me back to doing stand-up again. So it's been months now, right? I booked my own show for January, Thank you, yeah. So Thursday, I'm usually here Thursday nights. So gratitude, right, for this place. And I guess the moral of the story is that when you feel stuck in life, have a good bowl of ramen, and good things will happen, right? I just made all that shit up on the fly. Just kidding. No. It is true that I found this place by accident, and it was because of Menyaku. So I did prepare some jokes for you guys tonight. If I may, I'd like to still kind of tell them to you. It's not in story form, but instead of trying to change anything, I'm just going to give them to you the way that they were meant to be delivered. So I was asking my friend for dating advice, and he said, well, Tomo, you shouldn't date anyone ugly. And I was like, I already know that. Like, I'm not into ugly people. And he goes, no, I said you can't date anyone ugly. Yeah. Some friend, eh? Oh my gosh, I'm not hanging out with that guy anymore. Yeah, so I had a busy afternoon. I spent the whole afternoon cleaning out the litter box at home. Yeah, it's a lot of work, eh? Yeah, you know what? I really got to learn how to use the toilet. It's a work in progress. I actually do have a cat at home, too. It's a black cat and named after my mom, actually. Yeah, so maybe after the show, I'll show you some pictures of crazy fucking bitch. She's very, very cute. Eats so much food. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Oh yeah, so being a job seeker right now is actually really tough. Can anybody relate to that? It's so hard, actually. And I just hate the job interviews too, right? They always ask you those stupid questions. Like the last time I got, so Tomo, where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? And I was trying to think of something clever to say back to that guy, especially if I didn't care about the job, I'll just say something funny and hopefully I'll just get a laugh out of it. So the best answer I came up with to that question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, was exactly where I see myself now, in front of a mirror. And where do you usually see yourself, right? You are so weird, sir. Sometimes they'll ask you, if you're an animal, what animal would you be? My answer would be, well, when I first met my wife, she said I was the tiger she wanted to tame. But nowadays, she just says that I'm just the tiger in the sack. Nobody knows that expression. This was what I wasn't sure about, yeah. There's an expression called the tiger in the sack. And apparently, it means either you're surprisingly great in bed or you're surprisingly terrible in bed. But if nobody knows the expression at all, I have to scratch that one, so thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. Another question they could ask me is like, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? How about China? I'd go with China for sure, right? Yeah, they got so much momentum. I actually enjoy playing board games. So last week I was at this place called Never Board Games. Do you guys know that place? It's on Concession Street, but there's many board game cafes here, right? But anyway, so Monopoly is one of my favorite games. And apparently, when they buried the man who invented Monopoly, they had to buy up the whole cemetery. And when the families of the other deceased people protested, they were sent to jail. Thank you for letting me do this, guys. I know it's not storytelling. Oh yeah, so I enjoy going to the liquor store. Anybody else? Yeah. So yesterday I went out and got amber beer. Terrible idea because my daughter's only 12. So it was Amber's birthday a while back, and as a present, I bought her her favorite shampoo. But she looks at me, she goes, "Dad, that's so cheap. Freaking shampoo, are you kidding me? And plus, you didn't even buy the conditioner. Like, where's the conditioner?" And I look at Amber and I go, "You know what? That's because I love you unconditionally." It is a dad joke, isn't it? I was actually trying to put my daughter to bed last night. She doesn't go to bed, man. So I was trying to tuck her in, and then suddenly she punches me in the balls. And I'm like, "What did you do that for?" And she goes, "Well, Dad, didn't you say it was time to hit the sack?" One more, and then I'll get off your hair. Get out of your hair. So it was embarrassing because the other day my daughter actually caught me watching this new kind of porn, yeah, with furry costumes. Now here's the thing: it wasn't the porn that she was upset about; it was the fact that I was wearing different furry costumes. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much.
One more time for Tomo. Which I think I just pronounced wrong. Tomo?
Yeah, Tomo.
Oh, God, close enough. That's unspeakably cool.
What's that?
That was unspeakably cool.
I'll come back to the story next time.
I'll try stand-up sometime. I don't do stand-up. I can tell a funny story, but the timing and the jokes I could never actually get away with. So that's incredible. Thank you. We got someone else coming up now who I've seen numerous times, who is one of the easiest people I have. Sometimes I'll edit the video, and his timing is great. It's very easy to edit, and I'm glad he's here. And I've just taken my glasses off so I can't see him, but ladies and gentlemen, Eamon.
Good evening, everyone. If you bear with me, I need to reacquaint myself with the stage. It's been a long time since I've been up here. As George alluded, I have now been skipping out on stand-up comedy because I have to run, literally. But I also just came back from a vacation where I went to Egypt, I went to Kuwait, and in going with the theme of the evening, I want to tell you about an epiphany that I had whilst abroad. And that is how you can show love to people. You show love to people by giving them parts of yourself. And the way I do that when I'm on vacation is that I sacrifice sleep. I'll run you through one of the vacations I did when I traveled. I landed in Cairo at 7 a.m. My cousin picks me up. We go to the mall. At the mall, I managed to renew my ID and my driver's license. And then my cousin drops me off at my uncle's house. I have dinner with my uncles. Then I go home and I sleep. I sleep for 6 hours, and that's the longest I slept on that vacation. I wake up the next day at 6:30 a.m. to leave the house at 7 to get to the Grand Egyptian Museum, because that's where I get to see Tutankhamun. I spend all of 2 hours in that museum, and it's amazing that when I got there and I'm first in line and I see these foreigners running, I run after them because I'm like, they know something I don't. Okay? And they did. They knew where the mask to Tutankhamun was. So I was like the fourth person to see it that day. And as I'm walking around and seeing all these historic things, falling more in love with being Egyptian, which was denied to me where I was born and lived in Kuwait, where I went to visit, I decide to cut my trip short at the museum, and I go to a place called Khan al-Khalili, which is where you buy trinkets, and it's also a historic area. I spend like a couple of hours there. Then I go and meet my uncle in a mall. And my uncle drops me off at my cousin's house. And then my cousin takes me to meet another cousin. And that evening ends at 1 a.m. And I go to meet another cousin. And that evening ends at 4 a.m. And I'm back home at 4:30 to sleep till 7 to wake up to meet a friend from university. So to say that I am tired would be an understatement, okay? But then I go back to Kuwait. And when I'm in Kuwait, it's very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's cathartic. Because I met George 12 years ago there, and I'll end the story with George. But when I'm there, I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm happy because I'm in a place that I was born, where I grew up, where eventually I came to feel disliked. And then I moved to Canada, and things here are good, but every time I go there, I see what I am missing out on. I see my culture that I'm no longer part of, and I'm here. And it's that constant feeling of, am I happy, am I not? But what makes it happy is spending time with friends. And two of those friends were friends who actually ran the Marathon des Sables before. One of them in 2015, Christian Kreta, and one of them in 2012, Muhammad Al-Matar. And after we ran at 5 a.m., because Kuwait is still getting really hot and you can't run when the sun is up, we went to a Yemeni restaurant for breakfast. And in the Yemeni restaurant, we sit like this. And we eat with our hands, and they're telling me all about the stories from when they did the race and their experience. And to top it all off, they gave me all the gear that they used when they were at the race. So now, every time I'm out running around the streets of Hamilton, dressed like a ninja because it's very fucking cold here, okay? I have a backpack on my back that was part of that race 10 years ago. I have the equipment that my friend used to cook with. I have all the stories, all the nuances, all these little things that are going to hopefully make the stories that I bring back from Morocco in April even better. But also, what I remembered when I went to Kuwait was how I met that gentleman in the corner, George Tarabai. Now, I never told this story on stage in one shot. It's always been just blurbs here and there. But I met him because I like to try new things. At the time, I was playing rugby. And I know what you're thinking. With a body like this, how the hell can you play rugby? But yes, I was playing rugby to meet people. To meet women specifically, but people in general. Little did I know that women who play rugby are not interested in a man of my stature. But that's another story for another time. So, because I like to try new things, there was a post that I saw online for an open mic. It was at a place, it was called Ismani Open Mic. Ismani is the Arabic word for listen to me. And it was at a place called Ergila Bar, which is like shisha bar. It was a shisha bar. And they were looking for anyone who does stand-up comedy, poetry, music, anything. So I was like, you know what? I fancy myself as a comedian. I've never done it before, but let's try it out. So I sent this lady a message, Alexis White, who incidentally ends up going to my first wedding. And I say, you know what? I want to sign up and be a comedian. But then as the day approaches, I start getting cold feet. And I'm like, hey, you know what, Alexis? I don't think I really want to go up on stage and make fun of myself because I've never done it before. And she says, no, wait, it's okay. Meet my friend George. So I go to Argila Bar. She points me in the corner, and that's where George is sitting. And I sit with this man, and he's running through his repertoire, like his CV of being on TV, doing shows, doing comedy in Arabic, in French, in English. And I'm like, I've not even said a single joke on stage, and this person is giving me the blueprint of how to do stand-up comedy. And I'm like, what's the catch? He must want something in return. Okay? We'll find out later. It's coming. So when I'm on stage and I'm telling my first joke, you can imagine how it went. It bombed. Okay? I was telling people that, if the person next to you, I said, laughter is contagious, so if the person next to you is not laughing, feel free to laugh in their face. Thank you, that was funny, okay? But nobody saw that. And then I was like, I always wanted to try stand-up comedy, but stand-up comedy in Kuwait. Let's say we have a club called Stand-Up Comedy Kuwait. That would really suck. We should call it the Vertical Humor Society, VHS. Too smart for you guys? Okay. So basically, they didn't get it either. Okay? They didn't get it either. But what George did was he started clapping. And when he started clapping, I got my second wind. And I was able to finish my set. And this was at the time where I was writing my set like verbatim, word for word, what I should say as like a script. And if it wasn't for his claps, I would not have been able to get through that first set. Now, afterwards, when we became friends and I would go over to his house and be like, hey, come over here, I want to show you something. And I was like, okay, this is the time now where it's time to pay the piper. And I would show you what he did, but I'm wearing sweatpants and it doesn't work because there's no zipper. But that's what I was expecting. That's what I was expecting, but no. That is not what happened because George, for all that he is, he was just taking me under his wing and giving me all the information, helping me learn the ropes, and he expected nothing in return. No sexual favors, no money, absolutely nothing. And as someone who's known George now for over 13 years, I can tell you that when he comes up here and he talks about gratitude, having known him for those 13 years, having known how he was in Kuwait, how he always wore black, how he never spoke with emotion, ever, I can say thank you for helping my friend find who he is. And I mean that not in the way that when people come to Canada, they discover who they are. Like, you know what I mean. So, CFTA, thank you so much. I've been Ayman Nassar. Thank you.
One more time for Eamon. There's a lot to unpack there. That's fascinating. Who was it earlier said, Jake is always, George said Jake is a philosopher. A lot of the stories tonight are kind of dealing with how getting on a stage and telling a story makes something click. And that's what I've always appreciated about this particular space. I can't believe it's only been like a year, maybe a year and 3 months. I heard about this place through someone who never set foot in it. They had just seen the sign outside, and they said, you might want to check it out. And I came in and said, I don't do stand-up, I do stories. Would that be okay? And Jake said, sure, just keep it under a certain time. And it's built from that. So like I get what you were saying. It's great to be here. It's great to have these narratives. So everybody who's here, if you want to sign up and you haven't, please go over there. Next performer, case in point, I have known Brian for a very long time. We used to work in a software company together. He started coming to storytelling events in Toronto and then started performing at them. So every time he's here, I'm delighted, and I never know what he's going to do. And I realize I say that in front of a bunch of people. Before they perform, I always say, I don't know what they're going to do. That's a compliment. Because he can be serious, funny, left wing, right wing. I mean, just all these weird different angles, and I never know what it is. So I'm just happy to have him here. Brian Terrio.
Well, this is a weird one. I'm talking about when I first discovered I like to follow rules. See, when I was growing up, I realized I wasn't like anybody else. I'd go to school. Everybody seemed to be able to learn things. They'd be able to spell, do math. I realized I was very not good at that. And the only way I could get through it is by figuring out rules. So I would make rules for myself. And this is how I could do things. Like counting. I would take a 4 and I would go 1, 2, 3, 4 on the figure 4. 2, I would go 1, 2. So I could add them up. I would go 1, 1, 2, or 3, and then add a 4 to it. 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's how I could count. And I got very good at that. I mean, I took a lot of practice, and that's how I put together learning how to do numbers. Letters were a little different. They were challenging because you could put them almost in the right order and still be wrong. All the right letters, but you know, you put the S and the I in the wrong place and you get it wrong. It's a very complicated thing. It took me a long time to figure that stuff out. I could learn words very easily by hearing them and understand the context and be able to use them in sentences. So it used to just piss the teachers right off because they would look at me and they'd go, "How do you know that word?" I said, "I don't know, I just heard it." "Do you know what it means?" And I would say what I thought it meant. They usually go, "Yes, that is correct." "How do you spell it?" And as soon as they asked me that, I would fail. "Don't use words you can't spell." "Okay, Again, another rule, another collection of rules. And it really was confusing. But things were always easier when you watched TV. It's very clear. I used to watch this show from the UK. It involved marionettes. And they all lived on an island. Yeah, well, they would go around fixing things all around the world. And there was one guy in there, and he had a name that was almost like mine. Just had 2 letters, swapped around. I liked him. He was my favorite. He wasn't the big leader type like Virgil. He didn't fly the big bird. He was always left behind. His name was Brain. But he was smart. He always seemed to have the right information. He was never the hero, never saved the day, but he always helped everybody else save the day. That inspired me. That stuck in my brain when I was a kid. Carried it with me for the rest of my life, but it really kind of expressed itself when a buddy of mine who wanted to go into the Army said, "Why don't you join up with me?" Now, most people that know me know that that's not really my cup of tea, and probably I should have been able to tell that even when I was 17. But they had rules that were easy to follow, rules that they were more than willing to tell you what they were and how to do them and grade you. Nope, you haven't done it yet, or yes, you have done it. It's very, very rewarding in that sense. That it fed a deep part of me. It made me feel like I was valid, that I was helpful. But back in the 60s, they also had another thing that was on the TV. That Canada wasn't, as the United States now call them, war fighters. We were peacekeepers. I like that idea. I like the idea of being able to go someplace and help people that were arguing with each other and stand between them. Keep them both safe. That spoke to me. I like that idea. So I said, sure, yeah, I'll go. I'll go be a Thunderbird, get shipped around the world, solve problems, help people. And I probably won't go in a rocket, but anyways, that didn't matter. I was going to have fun. It was going to be great. And I would have my buddy beside me the whole time. So we went to our first meeting. We were initiated. They took down all our particulars and told us to come back next week. So I came back next week. My buddy didn't. So I said, okay, well, I'm already in, so let's go. And we did. Stayed in there for 2 years. One day my sergeant came up and said, okay, we're going to do a little training here. That's pretty par for the course. But he started talking about urban pacification. And that bothered me. Urban pacification is quelling civil unrest. The idea being that you've got a riotous population that need to be not rioting, perhaps to go home in a nice way, to get arrested in a not so nice way, or to get dead in an army way. So it was the way he explained it to me. He said, well, he could tell that I was being reticent with this whole concept. He started going, what are you going to do when the flower power girl comes up and puts a daisy in the end of your rifle? What are you going to do? And I said, nothing. Well, that was wrong, and I was told that was wrong. The guy next to me yells out, oh, I'm going to stick my bayonet in her face. And the sergeant liked that. And that's when I went, that's wrong. I had that built into me very young, you know, that, like I said, rules. You had to figure things out for yourself. Nobody's going to tell you. You had to learn the rules. So by watching, sticking a bayonet in somebody's face is wrong. It's very simple. There's no question. She was not trying to hurt me. She was putting a daisy in the end of my rifle. And I'm supposed to stick a bayonet in her face. Didn't like that. After that, I couldn't focus on anything these guys were trying to teach me. I ended up dropping out right after that. It was a complicated thing. The funny part was I think I was trying to impress my dad, and my dad purposely said, don't expect any time off from me. So I'm like, okay. All right. I don't, it was me, I guess, trying to step out of the nest. You know, trying to be my own man. My dad left home when he was 14 years old. He flunked out of school and was told that he should go get a job. So he did. Went out and worked on the oil fields. He was 14, but they still let him drive a truck because it was all on private property. So he drove a truck around Alberta for a while. Was a chef out there too, apparently. He did some cooking out there, where he learned how to make world-famous hamburgers. He taught me how to make them too, and I taught my kids how to make them. They were world famous because all of our family had moved to various points around the planet so that the sun never set on our family. We kind of liked that idea, or I did anyways. So they were world famous. I like rules. I find rules to be really helpful for me. They give me direction. I find it hard to know when to stop following rules. People get upset with me because, okay, here, let me tell you a story. I'm walking home from work one day. It was a bad day. I was upset. Just got off the streetcar, was coming around the corner, and I see 4 people coming towards me. 2 girls, 2 guys. The girls were saying something and laughing, too far away for me to hear. I can't hear what they're saying. The 2 guys were getting upset. The girl said something. One guy started laughing. The other guy got very upset and lifted his arm up to hit her in the face. Well, I got upset. You! All 4 of them stopped. Got no idea what the hell. What was this? I'm pointing right at him. And I walk right up to this guy, and I am just fucking livid. And I say, "Excuse me, miss." And the guy starts laughing. He says, "I'm not a..." Shut up! "Excuse me, miss." I glanced at the woman who had been struck. "I'm a witness to your assault. I am willing to testify on your behalf. Would you like to press charges against this man?" She thinks about it for a second. The guy gets a little bit smaller. I never touch him. The other guy is like trying to fade into the background. So I'm not worried about him. But again, I like rules. She says, "No, I don't want to press charges." And I said, "Well, you should pick better company. It appears this man doesn't respect you." She kissed me on the cheek. I said, "Don't ever think you can do that on the streets of my neighborhood. If I ever see you doing that again," my voice is cracking now, it wasn't then. I was very angry then. "Don't ever do that again. If I ever see you doing that again, I'm going to break you in half." Then I said, "You can do better." And I walked away. Now that's, it reminds me of a show I just saw recently. This is why I'm going down this road here. The show is called The Good Lord Bird. The Good Lord Bird is all about a man named John Brown. He fought for liberating the slaves just prior to the Civil War. Just a little bit before, but enough that there wasn't a movement to support him. John Brown liked rules. John Brown liked rules. The Bible had rules in it. John Brown liked those rules. Yes, men are created equal. He liked that. That's a good rule. It's right there. All created equal. I was watching it with my eldest, and I said, "You know what? If that was how religion was, the John Brown psychopathy where he would run around finding people who were holding slaves and liberate the slaves at knife point or gunpoint, and then give the option to die or become a slave yourself." So he would enslave the people who were holding the slaves, the previous slave masters. That's a rule that he would enforce. That's a way he saw of making things work properly, of giving them a lesson that people need to be respected. And it bothers me that religion can't do that. That religion can't take you to that level of belief where everybody needs to be treated right. And I told my kid that if religion was like John Brown's religion, I would probably still be in that religion. He was a good man who was fighting for a right cause. just the kind of stupid guy like me. FAB.
One more time for Brian, please. I know that story. You make a very decent, case. It's just such a weird leap from Thunderbirds to U.S. history, but everything ties together in weird ways. The older I get, the more I am distinctly aware of that fact. I like rules too, for the record. Right now, I'm working as a technical writer. I'm writing what's called SOPs, Standard Operating Procedures, which are about as exciting as they sound. But if you do it properly, you can give it to someone and they'll know, okay, how do I use this equipment without cutting my hand off or injuring anybody nearby and so on. The importance of doing that, even though it's boring, I like knowing that maybe someone who picks up a saw will read a manual I wrote and they will walk away with all 5 fingers as opposed to 3. So we can all dream. The next person who's coming up, I had not met before. I met her here a couple of months ago, but we have a similar background in a particular part of Ontario, which is so obscure. I feel like I know her without actually knowing her particularly well. But since I know where she's from, I think I know her well. Ladies and gentlemen, Shelley.
Newstead and Arthur knows. Hello, everyone. Today's story is called The Art of Paddling, and I'm just going to launch into it. Haha. As a child, I missed out on Hockey Night in Canada and exhibition games at the fairgrounds. My parents were unabashed haters of all sports. Maybe that was good, as I was truly terrible at them all. Though I did find out later on that I was good at running and I was good at long-distance biking. But that was some time in the future. There were no softball games, no figure skating, no lacrosse. Just the endless rocks and tree roots of the Niagara Escarpment. And campsites and rainstorms. And canoeing. I started canoeing early, probably at age 9. I was not great at it. My dad would bark orders at me from behind this canoe, while my spindly arms tried to guide us. It was distracting because usually my sister was yelling, and some damn dog that we owned was trying to jump out. Don't ask me which one, there were several, and none of our dogs were seaworthy. My earliest recollection was the lake at Rockwood, inspecting the swirl holes in the rock, fishing for carp, finding teeny salamanders. Later, our canoeing became much more exciting, paddling on Lake Bellwood in a windstorm, on Lake Conestoga, Guelph Lake before the hippies discovered it in the summer. My dad often had grandiose ideas which did not come to grandiose conclusions. One time, he decided we would paddle from Fergus to Elora. In theory, it seemed good, except for the sewage outtake that swamped us just past Fergus. We all went for a swim, really a rinse. We never did find my sister's lost sock. And of course, one of the silly dogs jumped out on an island, declared us idiots, and refused to reboard the ship. Some time passed from that last adventure. Not because I had bad memories, but because I received my license, and I had kids, and went to night school for work. You just get busy. But then the kids became teenagers. They were too busy for me. On a lark, I bought a kayak. It was nothing fancy, just a plastic one from Sport Check. Tracking was terrible on it. And the learning curve was steep. No longer do you paddle the same. No more J-strokes. It's you, a bunch of large carp, a hesitant blue heron, and an ever-judgmental eagle or swan. My first trip was on Lake Victoria in Stratford. Managed to get one soaker, very sore arms, and as usual, the complaint of all paddlers, burnt knees. And it almost ended in disaster, though as an angry swan daddy was having no part of a bright yellow banana floating near his offspring, I hopped out just as he went for the flip. Believe me, those wings could do it. And in fact, the park staff were waiting to tell me on the shore that he'd done it 3 times that week. Good thing I'd already survived a sewage outtake. My kayaking started to take me on some weekend adventures. I paddled from St. Mary's to London. Ended up with the worst sunburn in April, but I counted 19 eagles. And then from London to Delaware. They were not short trips. They were 6 to 8 hours in the sun and rain. One time, I managed to flip my kayak because I forgot I wasn't in a canoe. I did the J-stroke, current caught the paddle, and boom, I was sputtering in 8 feet of water with a half-submerged kayak. All because my co-kayaker had managed to acquire his own personal minnow in his kayak. Just a note, if someone acquires a fish of any kind in their canoe or kayak, just believe them. No need to investigate. I managed to encounter blue-green algae in Fanshawe Lake, which is beautiful, but also deadly toxic. All this paddling led to a lot of thinking, which leads to advocacy, not just over environmental issues, but for the people who live beside it too. I mentored a film crew who was planning on paddling the length of the Thames River end. Again, what I told them is what I tell you. It's the getting in and out that's the hard part, not the paddling. I am on YouTube in a film called Traverse the Thames. If you ever want to see the main videographer step into the kayak and immediately end up in the water. I even participated in a river cleanup using my kayak. TVO came out to film us, and it poured rain. I was covered in garbage, soaking wet. While I was interviewed about the homelessness situation in London and the need for safe injection sites, not just for the users, but for the safety and health of the river. No one wants needles to wash downstream. Because after a time, you start to feel like the river is a part of you. The herons, the eagles, the beavers that would scare the crap out of you as they popped up beside your kayak. Even the little weasels that would play on the shoreline, then run over and eat a baby duck with the same enthusiasm. You wanted to protect it, understand it, feel the seasons as they change. Stop seeing it as a tourism spot, but a living, breathing being of its own. I did give up my kayaks when I moved here to Hamilton. I couldn't see how I'd paddle on the bay with them, or on Coots Paradise. They were given away, but sometimes when it's 5 a.m. on a summer morning, I dream of a quiet paddle on the lake where it all began. So Rockwood, if you're listening, we have a date in 2026. See you then.
For Shelley, please. I know that area. I have also kayaked. I've kayaked in the Speed River, around the Thames. I had ridiculous, very low kayak that a buddy of mine had put like an old kitchen chair. So, I mean, at a distance, you couldn't see that you were on a boat. You would just see this guy half floating on a chair down the Thames. It was a very zen experience. I think I have to tell a story now. Okay. I always stand behind a mic stand, so I want to actually hold it because everybody else has pretty much held it this evening. You want serious or funny? Funny. Okay. Mostly funny, but kind of a serious bit at the end. I can't prevent that, but I can tell you the funny part. I can actually tell you when it happened. Let's see. I've been married. Oh my God! I've been married for 25 years. That's so funny. I really hope it's funny. I have a feeling my wife uses the expression, "Oh, he makes me laugh." Not on purpose. It's just, he tries to dress himself. I laugh at him. He tries to cook. I laugh at him. I'm trying to think how long ago this was. When was 1997? And don't say last century. I know it was last century, but like in particular, when was 1997? How many years ago? 28 years ago. I know where I was this evening 28 years ago. I was in Toronto. It was the late 90s, and like there was still money at the time. Like there isn't any right now. At the time, there was still money, and I was working for a software company, which Brian is familiar with. And I was out with a buddy of mine who was a big, I don't know how to describe him, kind of like a Russian bear, but he wasn't Russian. He was Scottish. Nice enough guy, enormous. He was at the time making money by buying very, very cheap cars and souping them up and giving them to the type of kid who would like buy a cheap car and put nitrous oxide on his dashboard so he could go faster. I didn't approve of this. I used to work for the Ministry of Transport, and I said, you realize they're going to drive into a wall? And he said, yeah, but they pay me. So let's not talk about his ethics. Let's talk about the fact that he had a buddy in Toronto who worked at a particular bar whose name I can't really remember. I think it was like Bistro 660. So it's not quite the Devil's Bistro, it's just 660. And he had a buddy who was the bartender there. We showed up this particular date, December 5th, because I remember it was 10 days before my birthday. And he said, listen, your birthday, I'm not going to see you, I'm going to take you out, let's get you drunk. Okay, I'm up for that. And I know this guy, his name is Carl, he's the bartender at Bistro 660, we're going to go, we're going to have a great time, and it's on me. I thought, okay, that's great, wonderful. We show up, I meet Carl, and Carl says, this is my last day here, because I was just retiring to take a different job, but as I came in today, I got yelled at by the manager, and he's fired me. So it's perfect timing, and by the way, it's an open bar, gentlemen. It was his last day. He wasn't charging us for drinks or food. In this very nice, kind of swishy, in the basement of a hotel kind of a bar. And it's like far worse in terms of weather than it is tonight. I mean, there was a blizzard, so there's nobody there. So there's me and my buddy and Carl the bartender, and we're sitting around drinking brandy and very, very old whiskey and taking full advantage of the fact that this manager wasn't there and we could eat and we could drink for free and we're having a great time. And the place is almost empty except there were two women, I put them at early 20s on one corner, and there's a guy, a big, very serious, kind of like a bouncery guy who I figured was with the bistro. And I'm hanging around with my buddy, and we're drinking, and we're talking. We've had so much to drink, we are naming our future children after each other as a sign of fealty. It was one of those evenings. And Carl sees the two women and kind of looks at us and goes, okay, guys, but it's too late. They've already walked over to the table. And they are gorgeous. They are like European model gorgeous. The makeup is not out of place whatsoever. In fact, I thought they walked off of a film set. I used to work in film, so I'm very aware of how you make up your eyes so it looks great on camera from 20 feet away. They look like they'd look great on camera from 40 feet away. Maybe a little overdone, but absolutely gorgeous. And they were very quiet, and they came up to the table and said, excuse me, I heard your birthday is coming up soon. We'd like to buy you a drink. And we're about to say, well, actually, we're drinking for free because this guy just got fired. But we can't do that. And Carl has seen us and seen them and kind of went and turned his back. So it's a bit weird, but they do manage to get a couple of drinks. They come over and they talk to me and my buddy, and they talk about how, how interesting we look and how did we come here particularly often. And, they actually don't live in Toronto, but they're kind of visiting, and this looks like a very nice place. Do we know any nice places they might want to go with us? And this is a bit off, and we've had just enough to drink to realize this is a little overly friendly. So we kind of say, no, we're just going to finish up here, and I live uptown, and he lives in Etobicoke, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they get up to leave, and they say, well, okay, but we're upstairs on the 4th floor, and one of them puts a business card on the table, and then they leave. And my buddy turns the card over, and typewritten, so you can't trace handwriting, was 1 hour, $200. 3 hours, $300. Night, $800. My buddy looks at me and says, "What do we do?" I said, "I don't know. What's your visa limit?" And then we start laughing hysterically because this is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous. And this is nuts. We're not going to do anything. We look at Carl, and Carl is, as subtly as possible, pointing at the gentleman who is close to the door. And we realize the gentleman is not the bouncer. The gentleman is with the two ladies. And we don't know whether he is, let's say a manager, or a bodyguard, or something a lot more squalid. And I'm guessing squalid because he was not amused at the fact that we were laughing at what was a potential transaction. So we are just sobered up enough to realize this would be a good time to leave. Just on impulse, I had the card and kind of stuck it in my back pocket. We talked to Carl, and Carl said, "You can go out through the kitchen." And we're just about to do that when the dude walks up to us. He's got an accent that I cannot possibly replicate. Can you imagine like a Swedish and an Irish and an Italian accent all at the same time?
Sure.
Try.
Try? I need a drink for this, excuse me. As we're heading around the bar to get to the kitchen, this guy walks up and goes, "Yeah, John, excuse me, gentlemen." And we realize he's pretty wiry and he's pretty tall. And I used to work for the police, so I'm very aware of what the bulge is right here. This guy is carrying something, and I kind of doubt he has a permit. And we look at him, and he says, "They left something there on the table." The card has been in my back pocket. I very quietly take it out of my back pocket and drop it on the floor and look at my buddy and go, "Did they leave something? I don't know if they left. Do you see anything?" And the dude looks at us and he says, "Look in your coats." So we open our jackets and open the pockets, and he does not see the card, which I have a feeling would be known as evidence if anything went south. And then eventually he decides we're not worth the effort and just kind of looks at us. And Carl goes, "You guys can go." We start walking towards the kitchen. The dude sees the card on the floor and then goes, "Wait!" and picks it up and glares at us. And we don't know whether he's going to threaten us or pull out whatever hardware he's got on. And it's a kind of a tense moment. And then Carl goes, "Free drinks!" and hands the guy a shot of vodka. And he hands us 2 shots of vodka. And he kind of stands there. He goes, "Na zdrowie." We toast, and we walk the fuck out. As quickly as humanly possible, we walk out. We get outside, make it to the subway. We called Carl the next day, and he said, no, they come in from time to time. When they come in, I'm supposed to call management, and management brings in a security guard and removes them. As for the guy, you did not want to have to be in a room with him, gentlemen. So I'm not really sure how that ends. I think it's a funny story with kind of a dark ending. I'd like to think that this guy did something stupid and just jaywalked at the wrong angle, and some cop saw him and then frisked him and found the gun, and he's been in Kingston for the last 15 years. I really like to think that. But anyhow, it's a very long way to say, I know what I was doing 26 years ago today. And thank you for your time and patience. Cheers. We have more people on the list. The list is on my phone. I'm opening my phone. Just in case anyone's curious what I'm doing. Sunshine is here? Okay. I don't think I've met Sunshine, and if I haven't forgotten, I apologize profusely. Okay, there you go.
My second time here.
Second time here?
Oh, wait, I lied.
You lied to me
I totally
after
did.
everything we've been through.
Right?
After that intro, how can I resist? Ladies and gentlemen, Sunshine. Do you want to hold the mic or have it on the stand?
If you could make it
Short?
short, that would be awesome. Cool. I'm sorry to tell you that I'm bursting all your bubbles. And I'm about to traumatize that other guy. And you were very inspirational, and I'm really sorry. But you're come the closest to what you're about to experience. I hope that, I know everybody is going through the inspirational self-love, and I wish I could be there with you, but I'm just fucking old. That's pretty much where it's at. There's only so many tricks, at least that I'm aware of, that I can learn, but I'm getting there. How's that? Now if I could get my phone to open. Okay, I was just in the wrong place. Okay. This one I call Old Age. Buckle the fuck up. It's not that funny. Okay. Okay, it's the comedian in me now. That's just wrong. Okay. Old age. I've been an old age sufferer since I was 9. Nights crouched in the dirt, teeth sunk into my knees. Walk with me. I promise to carry you safely to the other side. Nights my legs burned under my mother's lash. Nothing filled the hollow. Her wants, her needs, she could not have. Come sit. Look at me. If all you see is my age, look more deeply. You will see we are the same. It is not the wrinkles on my face, sweetie. That's the joy you had way back then, the love you shared because you believed in the word friend, the anger you felt like the heat of the sun you had to act because, and I'm going blind, because something in your heart said, that's unjust. The nights of worry, sometimes days without sleep, these are the facts your memories still repeat. It is not the old bones creaking at all times without permission. That's from all the heavy loads you had to carry, especially the ones you earned that you carried lovingly like it was your mission. When you had to bend despite every nerve in your body screamed no. All the games you played in and out of bed and got hurt trying to figure out what you were truly worth. The decades spent living in emotional dread. No one noticed the child emotionally unfed. It is not coldness of your heart, though that's the devil of every good story. It is pleasing the unpleasable and coming to the end of the road alone without any glory. It is bending what should have been unbendable till you can hear the moment it finally breaks from the loss or just despair. It is bearing the history of feeling unsafe and a life filled with fear. You can feel it winding like a vine from yesterday into today and making plans for tomorrow. If you just quiet and quit fighting and stay, It is under the strain the body says no more. The heart simply shuts up, finally shuts down, and ends ending the inner war. It is, however, the 60 years old ideology that never grew, never changed, never got space to breathe in any room. It is the mind that chooses safety instead of self. Over time, the heart burns too hot, the truth you could never accept. You allowed it for a time, if only for some peace. You said inside your mind, it is this choosing to wake every day and live in pain to preserve comfort and say, it's enough, I'm okay. I speak from experience, my own, a path I chose to make my own, sitting in my own tears at 9 years old. I heard a voice inside my head, don't ask, don't question, do as you're told, or you won't live long enough to grow old. I wish I could go back and tell her how much she gave up that day, a lifetime of acceptance of things that was never hers to carry anyway. That's old age. To end the performance, to make the change. Not for them, for you, for your own sake. No more looking back, self-correct your own journey. I've poured every bit of courage, every strength I had left, and my life screwed it all up beautifully. I need to stop crying at these things. Today, I'm not going to feel ashamed by their accusations. They didn't carry my truth. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not trying to hold on to my lost youth. You and I both know that's a trap invented for fools. The answer is simple. Don't try, just begin. Let your actions fall from your soul loud like you're creating sins. Maybe there's less in front than there is behind, I must confess, but take it, nevertheless. My wrinkles have taught me I should never have to prove. Beauty is not a season or a reason. It's not something one ever has to choose. That my life is mine, I, not you, should decide how I win or lose, how it is or how it's not to choose before someone tells you for worries they never carried, betrayals their hearts never felt, the physical pains they never had to hear. They were, for better or worse, your mistakes, so make them gloriously. And when those old pains strike in the middle of the night, I don't get upset, don't argue or fight. I tell them all gently, go back to sleep. With a rub on the shoulder, they seem finally appeased. Should I do one more? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
They're not as long. Okay. Should I do self-respect or should I do...
Everybody needs self-respect.
It's rare enough, it's kind of worth reading.
There's another one. That is crazy. I cannot remember the name of my own poetry. So I can find it. That's crazy. Why can't I? What is it? What is the word when you change from one thing to another.
Transformation.
Yes, that is, that, huh?
Metamorphosis.
So close.
Transition, metamorphosis, transformation.
Like
The-
Sublimation.
worm to butterfly.
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar, sorry.
Oh my God, no, viper, no, it's not viper.
Save it first for next time.
Save it for next time.
Oh, all right, I'll do, self-respect. All right. I apologize for the holdup. You have taken something from me. In my confusion, I put it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I know you took it, and I'll never get it back. As you look at my misshapen body, I put my hand against my chest wall. Yes, I know you saw it, and I'll never get that back. They say knowledge is power, and they can't take it from you, and yet my mind seems duller somehow. No matter how much information I put there, my words seem more impotent. The impudence! Why would I have thoughts of my own that is purely, naturally, beautifully me? You have taken something from me, so intrinsically me, I feel ashamed. My blackness is an affront to your delicate sensibilities. I have straightened the curl from my hair, so you look in my eyes when I speak. And when I speak, I have removed the natural sway from my tone so my words can find their mark. And still you stand there aghast. Who are you to speak to me in such terms and wherefores? Who was so untouched before I was in your presence? You have taken something from me. My own father taking from me. What you put in my belly, leaving me in pieces on the side of the road. So many pieces that I don't know which of this is me and which of this is not. So much so that the starving children in Africa will have to wait. They will have to wait until for another day because I don't know which I am right now. You have taken something from me. With your psychiatrists and your beautiful words and the glasses on the tip of your nose, can you make me feel worse with their, so what did you do in that situation? And how did that make you feel? It made me feel like punching them in the throat. It is how it made me feel. Like biting a gun, and I am a non-violent woman. You took something from me, so desperately innocent in its beauty. And all I have left is the husks and the straws. You took something from me, and I'll never get it back because I never knew what it was in the first place. Thank you.
For being fearless enough to perform poetry. One more time for Sunshine, please. I respect anyone who comes up and does poetry. I have written a ton of it, and I will never perform it because I don't trust it. You trust what you did, and that was great. Thank you so much. You sound like Dudley Randall. You remind me of someone who used to write in the 60s called Dudley Randall, had the same type of structure. Cool. Thank you for doing this. Anybody out there, anybody watching this, whoever wants to perform poetry, you got to be fearless to do it. And I'm always impressed for anyone who comes up. Sometimes it doesn't land 100%, but if you try it, I love it. So thank you again. We have two more people. And the first one is going to be Joanna. And there she is. I know nothing about her. Hi, Joanna.
You know something about, I've come up here before. I just changed my hair.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. And I'm a complete idiot.
It's been a while. I've been here maybe a month and a half or
In that case, let me confess the fact I'm an idiot, and everybody else, here's Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi. My name is Joanna. I'm an actor and singer-songwriter from Hamilton, Ontario. I'm using my laptop because I broke my phone, so I had to find my piece on my laptop. So I'm going to be sharing an email exchange, something that I wrote to my dad earlier this year. I come from a pretty funny family. We're all pretty humorous and we like to crack jokes often, but we've had a pretty dark family past. When I was 5, my baby brother passed away. My uncle passed away in a bus crash, and then my grandfather was murdered. So, to keep things light, we tend to crack jokes in our house a lot. But to be very honest, as much as I like to keep things light, I usually come up here and I do something very light. I am going to be bearing my soul and sort of just sharing with you an email exchange that I sent to my dad, and I ended up even writing a poem after I spoke with him. So I thought that's what my story would be today. And I'm having a tough time seeing the full, I don't know why I can't see the full message, but okay. So, dear Dad, I thought I would share this with you. We don't get many chances to talk, so I'm going to text. I was going to send this to everyone, but I think most are exhausted by me. You don't have to respond. I just want to share my thoughts to paper today. Written below in the tinier text is a short poem/story I wrote just now, LOL. I'm cleaning out my landfill disaster of a room right now, and I'm slowly becoming so nervous because I don't know, this is cut off, I don't know what's mine. It's like the only constant thing I have in my life is knowing that my room is always a mess. Everything else seems to change. What is my identity? What color is my spirit? What moves me like furniture? What fears have I closeted? What moments have I bordered? And most importantly, what light shines the brightest for me? So I'm going to share the poem that I sent to my dad. So it's called Every Day is Yesterday. Ever since I bordered myself in loneliness, a day has not been a today. Every day is yesterday. I droop my head to my pillow, unsure of the day ahead. Hope. Feelings of hope falls away as loosely as the grip that holds any recall of a dream. Hope brushes by. The heavy-weighted exhaustion of the day's disappointment seduces me to a sleep. I dream, I wake. Still bounded to the guilt and trauma of yesterday, as if every day is yesterday. My mind's my prisoner. Held captive are memories told to be stories. I cannot freely share a checkpoint in my day's journey. That's a story. That's a lie. I cannot freely come to terms with my day's journey. Did that really happen? Did I just do that or say that? Did he just try that on me? Cannot be. Captive memories feel like stories told to be a story. Or worse, no response spoken at all. As if I am just speaking breath into the air. Did you not hear me when I said I had a really hard day? And how was yesterday? They ask.
That was a hard day too. And the day before that, another voice slides in. Well, fuck. That was an even worse day than before, I scoff. Well, in 4 days, it's your birthday. Another voice squeezes by. My birthday. I know many, many, many people. And of those people, how many do you think care to tell me a happy birthday? Not many, just few. A day is a day, like yesterday was here today. So if yesterday is going to be like today, then today is going to be a very, very hard day. I leave. Wait. How is your Christmas? A tiny childlike voice sings. Only one word to describe Christmas snarls out of my mouth. Cold, I think to myself. Cold, I say out loud. I walk chipping away at the friendliness between myself and tiny childlike sings. Every day is yesterday, unsure of the day ahead. My dad responds, Joanne, I have received and read your mail in totality. Thanks. Spending a few moments to self-reflect on one's life, talk to oneself is a healthy thing to do. You have to try to love yourself and have some self-compassion and take one step at a time, however small. You might want to give yourself gratitude some mornings when you wake up. You can always find a reason to thank yourself for, or to be grateful about. Thanks for your email again, Dad. And so I guess I don't really have, it's not really a story, it's just a story of an email exchange between me and my father. And I just really appreciate you guys letting me come up, allowing me to share the stage and come up here and speak my piece. Thank you very much.
One more time for Joanna, please. That definitely was a story. And again, you want to come up and do poetry? You want to come up and do poetry, do it any time. Anybody, and I mean this with all due respect, anybody who's crazy enough to do it can usually sell it. Does that make sense? Yeah, I always tell people, I've never had stage fright. I did theater in Toronto for a long time. Being in front of live human beings never freaks me out whatsoever. Being in front of a doctor, a banker, a lawyer, a cop, I get intense. Or any manager for anybody I'm working at, I get intense stage fright. If I tried poetry, I would be like I'm standing in front of a doctor, a lawyer, a cop. My brain doesn't go that way. Anybody here whose brain goes that way, thank you very much. That's incredible. And we're at the last person, who, again, I don't think I know. And I'm going to say their name. And are they still here? Edith? Edith still here? Then please come up. By the way, Joanna, far more articulate. Everything you said was far more articulate than every guy I know right now is walking around quoting Billy Joel lyrics because they think they're old enough to do it. They're saying, I believe I've passed the age of consciousness and righteous rage and found that surviving is a noble fight. It's a Billy Joel lyric. Guys, don't live with it. That is not poetry. What you did was poetry. Thank you for not being Billy Joel. If Billy Joel's watching this, I'm sorry, but as I was saying, here's Edith. Cheers.
Hello. I want to tell 3 disconnected stories. And these stories are because I've been thinking about them recently. It's like, they come back and they come back. And so I'm a mom. And when my son was like 3-4 years old, I take him to soccer world, soccer, So I don't know if I say it correctly, but football, that world. So he was so little with his uniform and very enthusiastic, and I was the proud mom. But then when the classes ended, it's like 10 classes. So the last class, the coach says, everybody, parents, come, play parents against kids. And I'm a little bit competitive. So I was like, yeah, okay. And then parents versus kids. But then, for some reason, my brain went into parents versus kids. So somebody passed me the ball and I was dribbling kids. Until a mom came and said, really? Really? I was like, oh, you're right. That's it. That was it. That's the first story. The second story is I'm from Mexico City. I recently went to Mexico City because I want my son to learn my city or to go and experience my city just because he's part of his half DNA. So I think it's important, so we went. But then he took his cell phone. We were walking on the street, and he takes, like, random street, like, let's say here. He takes his picture, very excited, like, oh my goodness, his cell phone. And he take a picture. I was like, what? He took a picture of, it's a newspaper stand. It was closed because it was in the morning. Beside the stand, it was a huge brick of ice, like this big. But for me, it's normal, like, yeah, the brick of ice. But he was like, why is a brick of ice in the middle of the street in Mexico City? I never thought about it, and it took me by surprise. I was like, right. For me, it's normal because I'm Mexican, I'm from there. But for him, was like, what the fuck? Like, who made this? And nobody's stealing it, and it's huge, and who put it here, and why is here? So why? Because the newspaper stand sells pop. So to keep it cold, they need those bricks of ice. So it's the truck with the ice, and every morning they come and bring this big piece of ice and leave it in every newspaper stand, which for me was very interesting to think about that. Like, it was interesting in both ways because first I never noticed. For me it was, meh. And then reflected into him, it was like, whoa, that's right. And then obviously for him, no? It was with, well, this is the second story. But the third story. So I was a weird kid when I was a kid. Well, probably still not a kid anymore, but still weird. So I didn't watch the regular TV. I didn't watch TV, but when I watched TV, it was the cultural channel, which I love it. And in the cultural channel, they passed the Winter Olympics. The regular TV, they didn't pass. We didn't see it. But in this cultural channel, it was the Winter Olympics, which I was fan. So play. And then something caught my attention deeply. Curling. I was like, whoa, what is that? Glued to the television for like hours, obviously. I was so excited. I love the sport. I understand it perfectly. Obviously, Mexican kids were like, what is that? Nobody shared with me that passion. My parents, nobody. Finally, when I came to Canada, I was like, yay, finally I can play curling. So I asked a bunch of Canadians, like, where can I play curling? And they were like, me? I don't. What do you mean? I just need to. I know how to do that. They went, no. Damn it. So I made a because it was 2010 Winter Olympics or something like that. I was here in Canada already. So I was glued to the television again. I was like, damn it. I want to play curling. Where can I go? But because nobody knew, I made my own board game curling. Super fun. Huh? If curling seems boring, imagine a game board curling. Well, it's not boring for me, but maybe for you it is. I don't know. I sell them, so if you want one, just contact me after that. Yes, I have some. No, I made like 100. I sold like 10 for my friends, and that's it. So I have more, if you're very interested in that. Anyway, I made my own curling board. But, so this year, or last winter, Victoria Curling Club opened their doors for the open house. Sign up. I went. So I remember going to the curling. I was like, I know what to do. Like, obviously, I know. I'm a fan of Canada team. Like, wow. So I went, and they were teaching you like the hug and the rock. I was like, yeah, of course I know what is this. I know. And you Canadians are very, very nice. In Mexico, when something happened, when an accident happened to someone, you don't go and say, are you okay? No, you laugh. You laugh. That's our first reaction, and then, are you okay? You help, but first you laugh. You Canadians, I was surprised when something happened to me, everybody was like, are you okay? I was like, probably that was very bad, that's why you are asking if I'm okay, because you didn't laugh. It was a cultural shock. And the thing is, I went to the Victoria Curling Club, and when it was my turn to curl and to send the rock, I tripped. So I started sliding like the rock instead of the rock, with the rock actually. And then I started laughing, but then I turned around and everybody was laughing. I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, that was that's it, thank you.
One more time for Edith, and that was also the only curling story I've ever heard here. Okay, cool. We're at the end of the evening. Everybody who has been here and everybody who's watching.
Girl, you can tell a goddamn story.
And girl, she can tell a goddamn story. Everybody who's performed tonight, thank you very much. Please give yourself a hand. Woo! And just one more time, we do this once a month. If you want to hang around here for a bit longer, there is still some assorted snacks and drinks over there. Thank you, everybody. This is the last show for this year. And special thanks, as always, to Jake and Dex for allowing me to do this. This has been an incredible run this year. Psychologically, I'm much happier doing this than I was when I was not doing this. So I think everybody who's shown up tonight has got the same opinion. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy Christmas if you do that kind of thing. And I'll see you in 2026. Cheers.